Like most sports, there's many different ways to engage the activity. What we want to talk about today, though, is the most efficient way to paddle your board, and what we call the 3 P's of paddleboarding: position, posture, and the paddle. First 2 are super easy: where to stand and how to stand. All of the boards, whether they're inflatable or hard boards, will have some kind of carry handle right in the center of the board. That's where you want to stand. That's the center of the board. What that does is give you the most efficient glide across the water. Forward of that handle and the nose digs, behind that handle and the tail digs. Stand right in the middle and the board has the best glide. Posture, the second P, how to stand on the board. The most important thing is to have a wide stance. The next most important thing is to have soft knees. Soft knees is an athletic stance, and this puts you on the balls of your feet, and it's a much more balanced position. Opposite of that would be your knees locked, putting you on your heels, making you do the Fred Flintstone. Not good. So knees soft, body upright, and always looking ahead. Turning your head from side to side before you get your seed legs can sometimes lead to an early topple. So those first 2 are easy: where to stand and how to stand. In the middle, and with soft knees and with a wide stance and nice upright posture. Now the paddle. The most important part of the paddle is the blade. All of the power comes from here. So you want to make sure you always have the angle going forward. A little counterintuitive, because most people would think that you would scoop, but really what we're looking to do is push down. That's what makes the angle of the blade propel the board forward and up. So angle always forward, or usually label forward. The other thing with the blade is if it's not engaged all the way, you're not going to get all the power that you could get from it. So by engaging, we mean putting it all the way into the water, or what we like to call bury the blade, right? So all of your veneer, all of your surface should be under the water. Next comes leverage, but first you'll need the perfect paddle length. And we do that by reaching up and adjusting the T-grip so that it's right underneath your wrist. This is important because if the paddle's too long, it can be stressful for your shoulders. If the paddle's too short, it's bad for your back to paddle like this. So an inch or 2 right underneath your wrist is a great starting point. If you're into the surfing scene, you'll want to go a little lower because your athletic stance will be engaged a little lower. But for our flat water paddling, right underneath the wrist is just about perfect. Now for leverage, you want to have your hands positioned where one is on the T-grip and the other is halfway down, or where you're making right angles with your arms. This is important for leverage. If your hands are too close, you tend to T-Rex. And if your hands are too far apart, it makes it awkward. So right in the middle is the best spot. And you can tell when your hand starts to slip up because the paddle will become loose and wobbly and not be as efficient getting you through the water. So always easy to check your hand placement by throwing the paddle up over your head. Next comes the forward stroke. How to put all those together? Well, most people would like to just engage their shoulders and arms, naturally thinking this is the way to paddle. But in reality, we want to push the paddle down into the water, or what we call the bend and snap. Now, if your hands are positioned like this, you have your nice A-frame position with your arms. They stay straight throughout the first part of the stroke. Reaching out towards the nose of the board, you'll want to catch the blade all the way under the water and continue to push down with your body weight until the paddle reaches your toes. Then bring it out, your arm can bend, and reset it using your body weight to push the paddle down and through the water. We like to think that we're reaching to the bottom of the waterway. It's better to be a little too deep then a little too shallow. Now, if you only paddle on one side, you're probably going to go in circles. So when you switch sides, make sure you switch hands. The other thing with switching hands is the straighter your shaft is relative to the water, the straighter you will go. The more the shaft is bent out to the side, the more it will push the board in the opposite direction, which leads us to turning. The easy, most efficient way to turn is just to push the nose where you want to go. So you use the side of the blade as opposed to the front of the blade. It's called a bow turn. The other way to turn, and you'll also stop, is to reach back and to pull forward. Doing this on the left side will have the board turn to the left, and likewise, if you backstroke on the right side, the board will turn to the right. As far as getting up on the board, you always want to come from the center of the board because, again, that's the most balanced point. Usually from a kneeling position and then rising up 1 foot at a time till you're in a standing position. Once you're up on the board, particularly if it's a new board, always a good idea to put your paddle right on the deck. We call this a tripod position, and give the board a little rock side to side. We call this rail check. This will enable your brain and your body to relax a bit and to realize the board is very stable and it's not just going to flip over on you. Because if you have the right size board and the right conditions, paddleboarding is easy. So make sure you get with your authorized dealer to get a board that's properly sized for your height and weight. Then make sure your conditions are optimal for paddleboarding. Your body is like a sail. So if the wind is over 8 to 10 knots, you may want to rethink about going out that day. Likewise, if you see bad weather coming, take a look around before you head out. Make sure that you have no inclement weather rolling in. And that's it. That's the 3 P's of paddleboarding: position, posture, and paddle. Now I saved the most important thing for last, and that's the PFD requirement. The U.S. Coast Guard requires that a PFD be on every board along with a signaling device, which is what we commonly refer to as a whistle. So you can usually attach that to the board or you can wear it on your body. If you're using the belt type PFD, you'll want to make sure that you are wearing that and do not have it attached to the board, but have it on your body. Again, thanks so much. That's the 3 P's of paddleboarding. They'll make your paddling awesome. Have a great time. Aloha.